You know that feeling, right? That exhaustion that comes from love? That feeling of always chasing approval, always needing validation, trying to lock down a connection that feels like it could vanish at any second. Well, what if I told you that feeling isn't love at all? What if it's something else entirely? That's the really provocative idea we're going to get into today.
And this quote right here, it just cuts straight to the heart of it. The idea is that what so many of us are chasing, what we call love, is actually just attachment, and it's wearing this really beautiful, really convincing disguise. It's a powerful thought, maybe even a little uncomfortable, but stick with me, because it's worth unpacking.
So that's the big question, isn't it? If we want to understand what a real, genuine connection feels like, we first have to be willing to pull off the mask and see what's really going on underneath. So let's do that. Let's take a look at what's actually driving this whole chase. To get to the bottom of this, we need to dig down to the 3 deep roots of attachment. Think of these as the hidden forces that are shaping our relationships, usually without us even realizing it. We're talking about a primal fear, a lifetime of social conditioning, and the endless hunger of the ego. Okay, so the first root, the absolute foundation of this whole thing, it starts right here. And it's not some grand romantic emotion. Nope, it's just a simple, raw fear of being alone. It's that terror of sitting in the quiet with just yourself, with no one there to act as a mirror to tell you that you exist and that you matter. In that silence, the mind just panics. And what does it do? It starts to cling. And this image, it just illustrates the point so perfectly. That tight grip isn't a declaration of profound love, it's a gut reaction born from insecurity. And let's be honest, we do the same thing in our adult relationships. When we obsess, when we get terrified of being left, that's usually not love talking. It's that same little kid just expressing fear.
All right, let's move on to the second root, which is conditioning. I mean, think about it. From the time we're kids, we are literally trained to look outside of ourselves to figure out our own value. Every movie, every song, every fairy tale tells us that our worth is tied to being chosen, to being desired. We didn't even come up with this pattern ourselves. We inherited it. This is such a powerful way to think about it. We totally believe that our desires are our own, that we're dancing freely through life. But so often, we're just moving to a rhythm that society created for us, pulled by these invisible strings telling us what we're supposed to want.
So you have this fear and this conditioning. And you know what feeds on all of it? The ego. The ego's appetite is pretty simple, and it's constant. It just wants proof that it exists, that it's important. It doesn't actually want real love. That's way too spacious and free. It wants to be propped up. And relationships, they become the perfect mirror for the ego to admire itself in. And this is how it works. The ego is always there with its hand out, begging for a little attention, a scrap of desire, some validation. When someone drops a coin of approval in, you feel this moment of relief. But it's a trap, right? Because it guarantees a life of suffering, always dependent on the next person to drop a coin in your bowl.
So what happens when you take these 3 roots, the fear, the conditioning, and the ego, and you let them twist and grow together? You get a cage of possession. And now we're going to see exactly why living in this cage is a guaranteed recipe for suffering. This is the incredible paradox of attachment. The harder you try to control, to own, to hold on tight because you're scared, the faster you lose the very thing you're trying to keep. The grip that's meant to secure the connection is actually the thing that suffocates it. It's a losing game. Now this breakdown here is just so incredibly clear. Look at the difference. Attachment springs from a place of emptiness, of lack. But real love? It overflows from a place of fullness. Attachment has to tighten and control. It says, you are mine. Love can relax. It gives space. It says, you are free. One is basically a transaction based on need. The other is a genuine gift.
Okay, so if attachment is a cage, how do we find the key to get out? Well, the answer isn't some complex strategy. It's a really profound shift in perspective. From that exhausting outward chase to the quiet, powerful state of simply being. So how does this shift actually happen? It's a really cool 4-step process. First, you just stop. You stop leaking all your energy outward, chasing after approval. And what happens? That energy starts to come back home. It gathers inside you. And this centered, gathered energy, that's what we call presence. And the wild part is, that presence, that inner fullness, becomes magnetic all on its own without you even trying. Now, presence isn't a technique you can learn or a strategy you can deploy. It's the natural state that just shows up when you're no longer trying to get something from someone else. It's what happens when you learn to just sit with yourself without needing a distraction. It's a quiet kind of self-possession that, believe me, other people can feel instantly.
This quote just nails the whole dynamic. Neediness, that begging bowl we talked about, it pushes people away. But wholeness, that inner sense of being complete on your own, that draws people in. The moment you stop being hungry for validation, you paradoxically become a source of nourishment for others.
And all of this leads us to the ultimate goal, a completely new way of relating to other people, a way to connect deeply, but without all those heavy chains of possession and fear and need.
So what does that actually look like in real life? Well, you're with someone because you choose to be, not because you're compelled by a need. Your dignity comes rushing back because you're no longer begging for scraps of affection. You feel gratitude for the moment you're in instead of desperately grasping for the future. And you can finally be honest because you're not constantly afraid the relationship is going to break. You can walk together, side by side, with no chains.
I just love this metaphor of the two flames. It captures this healthy connection perfectly. You're close, you share warmth and light, but you don't merge into one big, undefined blob. You don't lose yourself. Each flame keeps its own center, burning brightly on its own.
And here it is. This is maybe the most crucial point of the whole thing. The ultimate prize isn't learning some new trick to become more attractive. The real prize is true inner freedom. The freedom from the need to be desired in the first place. Now that is real power.
And this brings us to our final and maybe most transformative idea. What if love was never a person or a feeling you had to go out and find? What if it's the clarity that shows up when you finally stop searching? What if love is just a quality of awareness you can bring to everything? A way of seeing yourself and the entire world without the mask?